good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Diary of this Ambitious Guy with Ifeoluwa Dotag. Guys, consistency is hard. People just say, yeah, you just have to be consistent about it, do it every day, do it every week, just be consistent, Consistency is hard, guys. Very, very hard because I'm in another episode now. I really don't know what to talk about in this episode, but I just know I have to release something out this week, right? I just have to say something about whatever it is that is going on. I just have to record something this week. And as always, I've pressed the big red button and it's recording. And I hope I come up with something good. Uh, yeah, God, consistency is hard, but it's the process. It's a process to that great thing that one wants to achieve, right? We just have to stay consistent. And here am I being consistent. Here am I again another week. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll just probably just talk about some of the things that should I say I learned this week. Yeah, some of the things I learned this week. And by the way, I'm still reading that book, Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi. Guys, the book is a good book if you're an entrepreneur and you really need to. It's a book that you need to read. I'm not done with it, but it's a book you need to. It kind of opens your mind to what's most important for you to do as an entrepreneur, which is to sell. And I think last episode I talked a bit more on it. But really, guys, I think if you have the chance, please get it. At least let that be the first book you're going to be reading this year. So Like Crazy by Sabri Subi. Okay, so one of the few things I kind of learned this past week or this week, right, is I learned that one of the ways to keep up conversation with someone or to continue in a conversation with someone is to start with honesty. Yeah, start with honesty. I just felt like 80% of the time you start a conversation with being honest, you'll notice that that conversation keeps on going or flows in its natural form. If you start a conversation with honesty, you start a conversation with the truth. With truth, it just flows easily because we as humans we have a way in which we detect if somebody is telling the truth or not, right? We have different methods that we use to detect that. So if you're starting a conversation off with a lie or with being pretentious, right? Most likely that conversation will not flow or will not last long. So for some people, right, if you feel like you don't know how to keep a conversation with someone, I think maybe you can use this too. I don't know if it's going to work, but it works for me. Start with a form of truth, right? A form of be honest with what you're saying. Don't be pretentious, right? Be real, literally. Be a bit vulnerable because if you don't open up, you expect another person to just open up like that. Yeah, someone told me that if you're not vulnerable, you can expect another person to be vulnerable to you or to open up to you. And I kind of experienced that. So there's this colleague of mine at work. Shout out to Dumebi, by the way. She has been quite awesome. Yeah, I can say she's like one of my number one fans for Dotag. I've said I was going to do a shout out to her for a while, and I'm doing it right now. Dumebi, this is your shout out. Okay. So I had a conversation with her. I think when was that? Was it not Tuesday? I think yeah, it was on Tuesday. And she was giving me a bit of feedback on my podcast, right? She listened to the episode 12 where I had a couple of friends come around and we all talked about certain things, and then she told me about the way I was reacting in that episode. Like it felt like I'm not the fun person that all my other friends, they were free and they were saying what's on the mind now, freely joking and all that. And I was just too serious about the podcast. I was like, okay, guys, this is a podcast. Let's do this podcast and on and on. Like I was very just focused on the podcast. Like I was being too serious, being too serious. Now that was a very honest. That was a very honest feedback, right? And that honest feedback led into us talking more and more about how people perceive what I do, like why I do what I do, and maybe the reason why I need to change, or why I need to be a bit more free with people and stuff like that, right? It started with honesty, and see, that conversation continued for almost 2 hours. I've never had the conversation that long with her before, but kicking it off with honesty, right, allowed us to keep talking and talking and talking and exchanging information and being in the conversation for that long. So I just know I just picked lessons from there, that sometimes if you're finding it hard to engage in a conversation with somebody, or you are finding it hard to keep up a conversation with someone, is most likely you're not starting with a form of honesty. Probably there's a bit of lie, or yeah, there's a bit of being pretentious on what you're saying. So yeah, because people will react to vulnerability, they would want to be able to empathize with you, because as our conversation is more like exchange of empathy. Conversation is like exchange of empathy. So yeah, I show you a level of empathy, you respond with another level of empathy. I know that cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. I don't know if this makes sense, but it's just the way it's just coming to my mind. I know, guys, I'm just saying it the way it is. Yeah. And I think also keeping conversations. One of the things that I feel can also help is I'm pretty sure I've had this a lot of time. Be a very good listener, right? Don't enter a conversation because you want to be the one to talk all the time, right? Enter a conversation because you want to listen. Enter a conversation because you want to listen. Yeah, that happens to me a lot of times. Like I just feel like once I enter a conversation, like 30 minutes of the time, or depending on how long that conversation is, like more than half of the time, I'm usually the one that's talking the most in that conversation. But it just got to a point I was like, I think, guy, you just need to get, slow it down a bit. Learn to listen to people. Listen to people. Don't go with, be humble. Literally, yes, you have a lot to say. You have a lot in your mind that you want to share, but sometimes maybe the conversation necessarily might not be for you to share what's in your mind. It might just be for you to listen to what the other person has to say, and in paying rapt attention to what the person is saying, it will let you know how to be able to respond to what the person is saying, right? Because one thing I just noticed is that if I'm the one that is talking the most in a conversation, the conversation just ends like, yeah, it just no, it just dies down, and that's it, and everything just goes off, right? But if you go into a conversation with the listening mode, you'll be so surprised how long that conversation can be. So yeah, that's something I just learned this week. So start with honesty whenever you're engaging in a conversation. Also, another thing I also learned is sometimes healing comes with being vulnerable. Healing comes with being vulnerable. So um you you're struggling with something, or there's something that you're battling with, right? Being vulnerable um can help with a set can help because it brings a sense of healing, in the sense that there's this thing I tell people, that if you're struggling with something, or something is um bothering you, and you want to talk to me about it, one thing I will tell you is I will listen to what you have to say, but don't expect that I'm going to give a solution to what you're going to say. I am ready to listen. I'm willing to listen to what's going on with you, but because you've told me, don't expect that, okay, at the end of the day, you'll get a solution for me, because I don't know. I've not experienced everything in the whole wide world, right? So I don't think I have the answers to everything. So when you're talking to me, just see it as somebody that, or just see me as like a wall where you control everything on. and something like that. So like you're hungry, you're feeling somehow a sense of pressure, or a sense of maybe disappointment, whatever, and you just want to let it out. Yeah, and that guy, talk to me, right? But don't expect that I'm going to give a solution to it. So yeah, and and one of the things I've noticed is, at the end of the day, the people that engage, talking with me and all that, or we have that sense of that scenario of being vulnerable, right? One of the things I notice is the person feels better at the end of the day. Me myself also feel better at the end of the day. you know just like I think the episode that I had with my friend, one of the things I made mention of was when I got scammed, right? I said I spoke to someone about it, and I spoke to the person not because I wanted the person to solve, because I don't even know if the person could even solve the solution, and solve the problem or give a solution to the problem, right? But I just wanted to be able to let the thing off my mind. And once I'm able to talk about it, it brings a sense of relief. But that does not change the situation, right? But it brings a sense of relief to me. Yeah, I'm literally, one of the things I'm trying this month is to learn to be a bit more vulnerable with people, because I feel like I'm holding too much. And it's also one of the reasons I started this podcast. Apart from the fact that yes, it's about the growth of my business, Yum Rush and all, but it's also an avenue for me to be able to pour out the things that are going on in my head, the things that I'm most struggling with, the things that I feel disappointed about. Just have an avenue to be able to let all those things out and tell you guys, right? Not because you guys have the solution for it, right? But I know you guys will listen. I know, not that I'm saying it so that I want someone to pity me and say, Ife, sorry about. No, it's never about that, right? I just want to say it because I know it brings a sense of healing to me. It's literally for myself, not for you guys, but literally for myself. It helps me in that sense. So yeah, being vulnerable, it's hard. It's not, it's seriously hard. It's not something that you want to do, because looking at the community that we find ourselves, stigmatization is something that easily comes. People stigmatize you almost immediately, and you feel so bad. They'll be like, what have I done? Yeah, you have done that, but you coming out or say whatever it is that you are going through, right? One of the reasons why people find it very difficult to be able to come out and say what's on their mind or what they're passing through or being vulnerable is because of stigmatization. And yeah, I totally feel it. I myself, a lot of things that I'm going through that I want to say, but there's always that fear that what if I say it and I get labeled. I get labeled for it. But I think one just has to be able to take that bold step to say it, because once you say it, it helps other people around. You'll be so surprised with the same set of people that is kind of struggling with the same thing that you're struggling with, or in fear of the things you're fearful of, or struggling with what you're struggling with. So yeah, it helps. It helps. So, but I know it's not an easy thing to do. Me myself, that I'm talking about it, I don't think I'm so ready to be vulnerable yet. But I know it's a progress. It's a stage. It's a process, rather. It's a process, and I don't think I'm there yet. And I would love to be there, to be able to freely talk about the things that is going through my head, and not feel the pressure of being stigmatized. Yeah, I know. I know it's hard, but yeah. Okay. I'll update on Yum Rush, right? I hired a designer for Yum Rush. I think this month. Yeah, beginning of this month. So he started working for me at Yum Rush, and yeah, that's like kind of like my first official hire. So I wrote him an offer letter and all those kind of things, and it felt so nice. And yeah, it's doing fine. It's doing fine. So most likely, you guys will be seeing a lot of Yum Rush designs coming up if you're following Yum Rush on Instagram and also. So those designs that will be coming up is not me, it's the designer I hired. So and it's actually be doing a very great job, and I'm happy for my first hire. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, that's it. That's right. That's today's podcast. Okay. You see something about this consistency I keep talking about. When I started this episode, I didn't know what I was gonna say, and I've spent 15 minutes talking. Okay. I think sometimes in life, if you don't know what to do, just hit the red button and record. That translates to whatever that translates to you. Yeah. But to me, this podcast, sometimes if you don't know what to say, just hit the red button. Things will come out. And I've noticed like 90% of us that are listening to this podcast have not followed or subscribed, depending on the platform you're using to listen. So please, I would love that you guys subscribe or follow or give this podcast a rating, right? And I'll also be dropping question and answers and polls that I want you guys to also interact with. So please, I would love it if we are able to interact with this podcast as much as possible. Yeah, and one thing I can assure you is I would try my best to come up with more interesting topics that we can discuss, even bring guests that I think would be of benefit to everybody. So please like, subscribe, follow, depending on the channel you're using to listen. I would so much appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. This is another wrap for the Dotag Diary of this Ambitious Guy. Another episode. This is the end. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye.